and then I will come to the of Andreas and then present. As you know, um, this is the 18, this meeting of the African Society of Human Genetics and the Tanzanian Society of Human Genetics is a joint meeting with the 18 H3Africa Consortium meeting. And it is a fourth joint meeting between H3Africa and then fourth joint meeting between H3Africa and the African Society of Human Genetics. The first was in Johannesburg in 2013. Then we had one in Dakar 2016 and then one in Kigali. So we could not do one, last year because of the present pandemic situation, and then Julia alluded to it. So, and then we had to postpone. And thankfully, at least there's some progress, at least we can still do it virtually. And we thank God we're all here to witness this great occasion. And then the great organization put in place by H3Africa and then the Tanzania Society of Human Genetics. And I really want to congratulate all of the organizers, Sienna, Julie, and many others that I don't know the name, but who have made this happen. And we're really proud of the fact that, this society, in Tanzania is really making great stride as part of sickle cell and many other research that I'm aware of. So, and for H3Africa, we're in the 9th year of this program, and we started in 2012 in Addis Ababa. We still have a year to go, and then H3Africa as a consortium has really helped a lot and has delivered a lot on the continent. I want to use this opportunity to thank everybody that has contributed to H3Africa. I can't name everybody here, but I will just go on and then thank the funders, that is NIH, NAGRI, the Africa Academy of Science, Wellcome Trust, and then other funders. And then the array of special guests, that have spoken, at the beginning of the meeting and that have spoken in the previous meeting, and that will be speaking also in the next few days of this meeting. Also, I want to use the opportunity to thank the external the IEC, and then that is chaired by Barry Bloom and then Kay Davis, for all the support that they've given the H3Africa Consortium. I will also want to seize the opportunity to thank Professor King Abayomi, who is the chair of the DBAC, and all the PIs and then the fellows and then the administrators, the program managers of all the project, as well as, the coordinating center led by Michelle Skelton for the incredible work that they've done over the years in order to support, the H3Africa Consortium and made it what it is today. So to give some highlights, of the 18, H3Africa meeting consortium. So I think in the past week, the working groups were on, and then they actually came the first day and then gave us some report back. And that was very interesting to hear from the various group, the various working group reporting. And we also had like guest speakers we had Professor Rex Chisholm, talking to us. And then we had a speaker from the HPRC, from WHO, and then also from HCA and then CORID. So we had an array of speakers speaking in the past few days. We also heard a lot of great research from the PIs and the fellows, and that I was very thrilled to see exactly what has been made since the beginning of H3Africa and now, because we could see many fellows really speaking boldly and very eloquently about what the kind of work that they've done. And there was a very interesting session, about, where we listened to early career scientists, and really, looked up to the 5 top achievers, that were able to deliver about 10 plenary speeches. And then also we had 20 speed presentation in the meeting. On the 2nd of September, which is today, then we have this joint, meeting with H3Africa and then the Africa Study of Human Genetics. And what I want to really mention here, the Lancet Hematology, sickle cell disease in Africa launch, so which really makes, again, this day very unique in many ways. And then many themes in the sessions of today will include H3Africa PIs, as you see, between H3Africa and the Africa Society is mingle, because most PIs in the two societies, or the two consortia, are pretty much walking hand in hand. And really today, I mean, going along, we also have a lot of the networking, social event and exhibitions, and then also, COVID-19 memorials. So I think to just present some H3Africa progress at glance is, I mean, you could see it here. For instance, you could see that, within, in terms of membership, you could see that, the membership of the society has grown, I mean, it grown a lot. It went between 2018 to 2019, it actually grew about threefold. In terms of trainees, it was almost twofold increase, and then training support, more than twofold increase. In terms of publication, so we almost, threefold increase in terms of publication, and that's very impressive to see. Most of these publications are African-led. Now, what is very super impressive here is the fact that the number of participants recruited in the H3Africa program, I mean, in the H3Africa consortium research, we went from 50,000, in 2018 to double these numbers in 3 years, from 50,000 to 100,000. That is impressive. And this really actually paved the way for sustainability for this consortium, and then here we are in terms of thinking about how we can basically sustain this. And then the consortium has generated a lot in terms of access, knowledge, and then solution. We're going to see that in the next few slides. For instance, in terms of participants, as we mentioned, we had over 100,000, but this was anticipated. We anticipated to do 112,000, but we still have a year left, and we're already at 107,000. Most likely, we're going to be above this number as it has happened. So in terms of the Africa array, it was anticipated we're going to use about 6,000, but we're actually way above it, over 30,000 arrays used. And you can see here, and even in terms of NGS targeted, so it wasn't anticipated to do within the consortium over 400. And more impressive is actually the fact that there are over 15,000 RNA-seq, and none of these were, I mean, this was not anticipated originally. So, and then in terms of a real asset, I think H3Africa has a unique asset because we have like 8 studies now and that have generated over 20 data set, and then we have in our biorepositories, over 23,000, biospecimens. And these biorepositories actually represent, I think, the way for the future studies in Africa, and they really want here to really acknowledge, largely with our in the Institute of Human Biology in Nigeria. Then we have the IBR H3AU in University of Macquarie, and then CLS, University of Witwatersrand. So these are biorepositories that actually holding up a lot of useful, and then a great specimen that could be very important for, on the continent. I also want to highlight a few countries that significant is biospecimens. And that really is important to mention here. We have the Tapanogen, and then we have the Siren study, we have H3Africa chip, and then the CAFGen and Awigen by Michelle, and then that's really have been tremendous in terms of making this information and then the data available, and then that will be useful in the future. So, and then there are many other studies in the pipeline and then cross-country, and a few of them are in the repeat studies, and then these are studies that are already using existing sequence data that are already available. But then there are also some other studies that will be probably will be coming on along, and these are the transcriptome and the blood trait. For this study, they will need to generate additional data phenotype, and then also once we have this, then access can be people can have access. But then there are also studies that are very specific to disease, like rare disease and other infectious disease and many other diseases across the continent. You target that at mixtures kind of selection across, different population across Africa. So, and this really, to achieve this, there's a need actually to look at, to generate additional data or more data, harmonize the way this data, harmonize this data and then also make access. But as you take all of these things together, actually show that there is opportunity here for not only excellent research in the future, but there's also opportunity for training, then visibility, and then also sustainability. And that, I think it's important at this point to actually mention a few of the things that actually made Africa, and H3Africa has made a huge slash, what I call in genomics and in the field of science. And we cannot talk about H3Africa without talking about this major paper, and it's this major market paper that occurred, that was published last year, whereby we had, and this paper published in Nature actually provided one of the most, extensive studies ever done in the African population, and that really uncovered millions of new genetic variants, and that really provides a better and a new insight into the diversity and the history of the African continent and its people. I think H3Africa, through the consortium, has brought Africa science to a new level. And really, we're very glad, that this has really changed the paradigm and then changed the dynamic. Then in the field of, infectious disease, so here I am receiving this award, but this was really built around the fact economics, to put Africa on the map and then to guide the public health response to COVID in a way that was unanticipated in the past. Remember that we actually generated the first SARS-CoV-2 in Africa, hours of receiving a sample, and then the group in South Africa and many other places in the continent identified new variants way before others could do, and that's really guiding Africa and then using this data for public health response in a way that was unprecedented. So really going on, I think H3Africa has made great interest. And then one thing that I want to mention here, and actually to show that, H3Africa has transformed, what I call the youth of Africa. This is a case of Segun Fatima. And this is a real story that should be inspiring many young people across the continent. This is a young man that was and the science and through the H3Africa platform has become one of the greatest genome scientists in the world. And we believe that, such stories should be more inspiring for the young generation coming up and realize that and show people that it is possible given the platform. I really want to use the opportunity to thank Michelle Ramsey for, the leadership that she's actually provided, in the field and then leading these great innovations and then papers and then making sure that Africa is highly represented, in the field of human genomics. Again, saying thank you, Ambrose. As Julie mentioned, we are all from the same genetic background. We're coming from the same, and I'm just hand over to him. There's no other better person than to hand over the H3Africa consortium. Knowing how Ambrose is passionate about H3Africa and the African Society of Human Genetics, at least I cannot just but be so proud and glad of the fact that now we have all of these two entities in the hands of a hero, and then in the hand of somebody that believes so much in Africa and in its potential. And Ambrose, I am very sure, as he has demonstrated always in the past, that he's capable of, leading us to a new level, and as far as the Africa Society and H3Africa is concerned. So on this note, I really want to thank you. And then again, for those who weren't there, during the H3Africa steering meeting start, I want to really welcome Ambrose as the new chair of the H3Africa consortium, and Ambrose will be assisted in this task with Zane Lombardi, who was voted in as a co-chair. And Ambrose, again, I am so proud and glad to hand over the baton to you, and I know very well that you're going to take it, to a different level because you have more capacity than many of us, do have. Again, thank you to everyone for this meeting, and then I'm very sure that in the next few days we're going to be having a